Good morning, dear students. Today I will discuss regarding ovary, vagina, and the external female genitalia. Now, ovary is the female sex organ homologous to the testes of the male. They are paired in number, lies on each side of the uterus. They lies on the posterior layer of the broad ligament. The shape of the ovary is oval or almond shaped, and it has got the vertical axis which lies downwards and medially. The ovary in the nulliparous woman, adult woman, lies below the pelvic brim. In case of children, it lies above the pelvic brim, and in case of repeated pregnancy, the ovary may prolapse in the recto-uterine pouch. Rarely, the ovary may lies in the inguinal canal along with the round ligament of the uterus. Now, coming to the dimension, the length of the ovary is 3 cm, width is 2 cm, and thickness 1 cm. Now, different relation of the ovary. The two ovaries, they lie on the posterior layer of the broad ligament, which is the ligament of the uterus, and it is attached with the peritoneal fold that is called the mesovarium. And the point where the mesovarian attached, the two fold of the mesovarian attached, that is called the hilum of the ovary. The ovary has got the different parts. It has got upper pole, or which is related with the uterine tube, so tubal pole, and the lower pole, which is related with the lateral border of the uterus, so uterine pole. And it has got two border, anterior border or mesovarian border, posterior border, that is free, convex, and surface, medial surface and lateral surface. Now, the different peritoneal fold attached with the ovary, that is the suspensory ligament of the ovary. It is attached on the uterine tube and the tubal pole of the ovary. Another peritoneal fold which is attached on the lower pole of the ovary, that is the ligament of the ovary. It is attached on one side at the lower pole of the ovary, and on the other side at the lateral angle of the uterus. In case of repetitive pregnancy, the vertical axis, which is directed downwards and medially, it becomes transverse. So we are discussing as far as the nulliparous adult ovary. So on the medial surface, there lies a peritoneal fold, that is the mesosalpinx, which is the part of the broad ligament, and it forms one recess here, that is called the ovarian bursa. On the lateral surface, there lies a fossa on the lateral surface on the pelvic wall, that is called the ovarian fossa. Different relation on the lateral surface of the ovary, and it lies on the lateral surface of the pelvic wall, that is called the space is called the ovarian fossa. The different relation of the ovarian fossa is, above it is related with the external iliac vessels, artery and the vein. Below it is related with the ureter, and in front it is related with the upturned obliterated umbilical artery. On the lateral surface, above to downwards, lies the obturator nerve, obturator artery and obturator vein, and the fascia covering the obturator internus muscle. So this is the ovarian fossa where lies the ovary on the lateral pelvic wall. Now come. Ovary, it is covered fully by the peritoneum, and on the anterior border, two fold of the peritoneum, that is called the mesovarian. On anterior border, it is non-peritoneal, and over the below the peritoneal fold or peritoneal coverings lies the germinal epithelium, which is the misnomer because the oogonia, it is developed from the yolk sac, not from the ovary. And below the germinal epithelium lies the fibrous connective tissue covering, that is the tunica albuginea. Through the hilum, the ovarian vessels and nerves enters into the and passing from the ovary. The ovarian vessels and nerves, they enter into the mesovarium through the suspensory ligament. Suspensory ligament, what is that? That is the peritoneal fold which attached with the lateral pelvic wall with the uterine tube and the tubal pole of the ovary. The ovary is supplied by the ovarian artery, which is a branch from the abdominal aorta. The ovarian artery of the both the side, they descends just below the renal origin of the renal artery. They originates from the abdominal aorta. They descends on the posterior abdominal wall behind the peritoneum, and then they enter through the suspensory ligament, and through the broad ligament they enters into the mesovarian and supplies the ovary. The ovarian vein, they form from the pampiniform plexus around the ovarian artery, and they form the ovarian vein into the suspensory ligament, then ascends and drain into the right side in the inferior vena cava at an acute angle, but on the left side there is a deviation. It drains into the left renal vein. The lymphatic drainage from the ovary by the pre-aortic and para-aortic lymph node. The nerve supply of the ovary from the thoracic 10, sympathetic by the thoracic 10 and lumbar 1 segment of the spinal cord. Now, in middle-aged women, when they will complain about the persistent pain in the inner side of the thigh, or it may present with the pain in the knee joint, there must be a differential diagnosis should arise in our mind, because the inflammation in the ovary may cause peritonitis, and they may inflame the or irritation, they may cause irritation to the obturated nerve, which we find in presentation in such a way, that means pain in the inner side of the thigh or medial side of the thigh, or may present with the pain in the knee joint. Now the female genital organ, vagina. Vagina is a musculomembranous tube. The length of the vagina is 7 to 9 centimeter. The posterior wall is more longer. It is attached high up in the cervix of the uterus, and anteriorly it is 7.5 centimeter. The vagina is for the copulation and passage of the menstrual fluid, and it forms the part of the birth canal. As the cervix of the uterus is projected inside the vagina on the anterior wall, so there forms one recess or space, and due to this recess formation, the space is called the fornix or fornices. The fornices of the vagina can be described in such a fashion: the fornix which is present anteriorly, that is called anterior fornix. The fornix which is deeper one, that is called the posterior fornix, and on both the side laterally, the two lateral fornices. If we cut the tube in the upper part, we can get the section, it is round, more or less round. But in the middle part, the anterior wall and the posterior wall, they come closer and forms the transverse slit. In the lower part, they form the H-shaped slit. So it is a musculomembranous tube having length of 7 to 9 centimeter. It is attached, it extends from the vaginal orifice present in the vestibule between the two labia minora and up to the external os of the cervix of the uterus. It has got anterior wall, posterior wall. As the cervix is projected in the upper part of its anterior wall, it forms a space or recess or fornix, the anterior fornix, posterior fornix, and the two lateral fornices. Now coming to the different visceral relation of the vagina. Anteriorly, the anterior wall of the vagina, it is absolutely non-peritoneal. It is related with the base of the bladder and part of the ureters. Posteriorly, it is related with the recto-vaginal fascia. Upper part, it is related with the ampulla of the rectum. Middle part, it is related with the recto-vaginal fascia, and in the lower part, it is related with the perineal body. The inferior most part is covered with by the skin. The posterior wall, upper part, it is related with the recto-uterine pouch of Douglas, which is the most dependent part of the pelvic cavity. Now, on both the side or lateral relation, in the upper part, it comes part of the ureter, then uterine artery, then McKenna's ligament, fascia covering the levator ani muscles on both the side. Below that, urogenital diaphragm covering the fascia, and in the inferior third, it is related with the bulb of the vestibule, bulbospongiosus muscle, greater and lesser vestibular gland. If we see the difference, see the structure of the vagina, we can see that it has got the layer of the serosa. The upper part posteriorly, only it is covered by the peritoneum, so it has got serosa, and most of the part it is covered by the endopelvic fascia. Then muscular layer, externally longitudinal muscle, internally circular muscle, and the mucosal layer. The mucosal layer, epithelium, it is the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. It is lined by the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, but without any mucosal gland. The secretion of the vagina, it is provided by the glands of the cervix and the greater and lesser bulbovestibular glands. Now, the blood supply of the vagina, it is supplied by the vaginal artery, which is coming from the internal ilia, uterine artery, internal pudendal artery, and the branches coming from the middle rectal artery. Venous drainage, on the wall of the vagina, it has got the vaginal plexus, which is continuous with the uterine plexus, venous plexus, and then it drains into the iliac vein. Now coming to the lymphatic supply, upper third it is lymphatic drainage. Upper third it is drained by the external and internal iliac lymph node. Middle third it is drained by the internal lymph node, and the lower third it is drained by the superficial inguinal nodes. Now coming to the another part, that is the hymen, which is the fibrous membrane having the opening in different variable position. It may be imperforated or it may be partially perforated. The shape of the hymen, that membrane is called the hymen. The shape of the hymen is the annular, crescentic or cubiform shape. In the gynecological practice, it is regularly we are doing the part vaginal examination with the digits, with the index finger and the middle finger, and with this part vaginal examination we can assess the different information during the parturition of the baby or any pathology related present in the pelvic area. So it is very useful procedure by doing the paravaginal examination. So paravaginal examination, by doing the paravaginal examination, we can assess the conjugate diameter. We can assess posteriorly any mass present in the vaginal rectouterine pouch. We can assess anteriorly ureter. We can palpate the ureter and bladder. We can assess the physical condition of the cervix. In case of pregnancy, we palpate, we can feel the soft external walls of the cervix. In case of carcinoma, the cervix will be, the external walls will be hard, or in case of cervicitis, chronic cervicitis, the cervix may present irregular. On lateral examination of the vagina, we can get the assessment of the ovary, both the side, and on the right side we may palpate or we may get the appendix when it presents in the pelvic region. Now, with this, we can conclude the description of the vagina, that is the one of the part of the internal female genital through the vagina. This is the most dependent part of the body, of our body, where the fluid can accumulate, or any pelvic abscess present in this area, but by examination per vagina we can have the knowledge. Another procedure that is called the coldocentesis. Coldocentesis, we can aspirate the fluid in this process. We can aspirate the fluid in the present in the recto-uterine pouch, or any abscess present in the recto-pelvic area. We can drain the abscess through this process. This is the vagina. With this examination, we can palpate the posterior fornix and we can drain the pelvic abscess or through the procedure coldocentesis. We can aspirate the fluid and send it for the diagnosis why the fluid has been collected here. This is the most dependent part of the body, our body. So the fluid can be collected here, and we can, through the vaginal passage, we can reach there and collect the specimen for the diagnosis.